Right, testing mic 1 2. Just doing a live mic check on site, and also looking at my own live stream, make sure that everything is going on okay. And yes, today we are in a very different location. I'm not in my bedroom and whatnot. Oops, that's the end. Okay, let me turn off the ads now. More monitor. Okay. 5814. Okay. Maybe a new system. And then I yeah, sorry, yeah, this is my first time live offsite. So a lot of things to really take control. And yeah, we are managing both online and offline. So those online, you can hear me on the online streaming site. Those who are offline, right here, thank you for coming. Yeah, we are right here in an open source cafe. So this is a cafe run by one of my contact. And yeah, they are a co-working space right here, very nice, cozy space. So they do some workshops, events, live streams for people who need to use rental space. So this is a small shout out for them lah. They are located around Rochor MRT, and it's very convenient, just less 5 minutes walks. Less than 5 minute walks from the MRT station. So for those of you who are looking for, it's just some kind of co-working space and you don't want to commit to an annual or monthly membership, just come by, right? I'll drop the address in the description, and also it's in one of when you register for this event, it is in the description as well lah. So they serve up some good burgers and some beverages. And today we're going to talk about mouse, right? Also, I was also asked what was that? What is the MCC of this place? Is 5814. So fast food MCC for those of you who want to, are very MCC centric one. Yeah, this MCC 5814. And yes, later in this video, in this live stream, we will talk about what cards to use for especially accumulating air miles, because air miles is a very sophisticated thing. Like I would say, cashback is very easy to understand, very easy to use, right? Which is why I think in the air miles game is getting more and more popular, and people want to fly business class, especially after a pandemic. Yeah, so in today's seminar or live webinar, we will really walk through some of these tactics, some of these strategies that we could use to enhance our air travel so that we don't have to travel always in budget or economy anymore. So I guess that's what everybody wants, right? Okay, today's agenda. Firstly, we talk about some real world card strategies, and then we also have some redemption methods. Lastly, we talk about some pitfalls that people don't really want to talk about, or they don't really know about the mouse game. They're just newly entering this space. All right. Okay, I think the first reason we need to talk about is the reason why we want to start playing the mouse game. The mouse game is actually very rewarding, but also at the same time is very complicated. Okay, why I say this is because it takes a certain level of proficiency and certain level of skill. And it's not like cashback where everything is really very simple-minded, everything is very straightforward. There is some learning curve that you need to do. All right. So we're talking about the phase of even starting to do any kind of mouse strategy or mouse game. You need to first educate yourself, because you cannot use the cashback mindset to go and learn mouse. Correct? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So we cannot use the cashback mentality to go and learn mouse, because it's a totally different ball game. And in mouse, we're talking about delayed gratification. What does delayed gratification means? Cashback, we can get it back within the next month or so, right? So we spend this month, next month or for the following month, we'll get a cashback, and that's how it's rewarded back to our wallet. Miles game, we need to really accumulate until a certain period, and then we need to learn how to really learn to redeem, which is what we are here to learn today. And the thing about miles is that miles is a lifestyle. Miles is not like you think you want to go, then you can go. No, you need a lot of planning. So it is a way of life. Definitely, there is some form of lifestyle inflation. Okay, I'm not going to deny and say that people who play the mouse game, they are, you know, maybe I would say there's a little bit of lifestyle inflation because now you're aiming for business class flights. You're not going for first class. Sorry, you're not going for budget or economy anymore, right? So there's a little bit of inflation in lifestyle in there. And the value that miles we should really look at is at least 3 cents per mile. Later we'll go through how to really calculate the value of all that lah. And also, if you have never traveled in business class before, you know that the tickets are around a few thousands, definitely not a few hundreds. So you need to change this concept of from turning like 100k miles to $5,000 because that's what is worth the miles value, right? So also, we must also not forget that there are devaluation and caps. So all these things are things that you will never experience until you are in the mouse game. So I would say that mouse game is a very rewarding journey, but at the same time, it's also quite complicated and quite scary to some of us. So the most important thing is that we need to stay adaptive, especially in the mouse game, because it's not like cashback. Everything is just very simple. You spend $500, you get 5% cashback the next day, the next month. And I'm sure that many of you also in your life at one point in time you all want to fly business class flights, right? So don't think that miles is that scary because everyone has to start from somewhere. Okay. And if you have flown business class flights before, I'm very sure it will not be your last time because we will also try to achieve better things as we earn more income, as we can afford it, and we want to live a more comfortable life, right? So it's no longer the game of the richest. Miles is the way for people to go on higher class flights with not much budget, right? In fact, most of the miles, you don't really need to spend a lot of money. I mean, you need to spend a lot of money to accumulate miles, but not at the point where you want to redeem the miles, okay? So let's move on to the next slide, which is the earn, hold, and redeem framework, okay? And I want to talk about this framework is because a lot of people, they only stuck at the earn framework, okay? Earn framework means you know what cards to use, what MCC to go for, and how to formulate your credit card strategy around the miles selection, all right? But the thing about this thing is that if you only stop at the earn part, right, you will never get past the holding part and the redemption part, which are the more difficult, okay? A lot of people, especially in my community and chat, they are all focused on the earning part, okay, which is the fundamental, no doubt. But it is also one of the easiest to get people to enter, whereas the harder parts are all behind, okay? What do I mean by that is that you first learn what are the cards available for $4 per dollar spending. Secondly, you talk about track spending for optimal transactions, right? The MCC, what the selection of the card, how you want to combine with other strategy and all that. So that's the earning part, okay? Holding part is where you group with multiple credit cards, correct? You cannot just stick with one mouse credit card. And that is very important because mouse also have caps. And the caps will determine how much miles you can earn within a specific month, statement, or period. So you want to keep all these points flexible, be it in one bank, multiple banks, and it's a lot of work to manage them, correct? Also, the way you want to hold them is that you only want to redeem them for points or transfer them to your mouse account when you already have the idea of what you want to redeem. Otherwise, if you don't have a plan to redeem, it's better to hold it in the bank itself because different banks have different expiries. Okay, later we'll walk through that. And also the final part of the mouse game is redemption because after earning, after holding, the most difficult part is redemption. You think that after earning so many points, you can redeem that business class flight, then I think you are in for a good shot because it's not going to happen if you have never done the homework. Okay, and the thing about redemption is that I think as Singapore residents, we are all familiar with KrisFlyer miles, correct? Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer miles. So that's what we all start with because it's easier to learn and also the most available flights that we can, take advantage of. But are there also partner airlines or alternative frequent flyer programs that we can look at? In today's session, I will explore a little bit with some of them lah. Okay. Also, you also need to learn how to calculate the value per mile. Okay, this one, the calculation is all over the internet, but you also may have some questions, whether you are online or offline audience. Okay, just type in your questions in the chat box in my live stream. Okay, I'll try to address them because it may not be so straightforward like a mathematical formula. Okay, there are some other things that you also need to look at. Golden rule is that miles melt like ice. Okay, so use it strategically before the valuation expiry or changes. Okay, don't hoard them thinking that you want to be a miles millionaire. Of course, you can be one, but there is a cost of holding. Okay, the more you hold them in your hands, the more it's going to melt because the valuation is like cash, right? It's like fiat cash. It's going to devalue over time. It does not hedge against inflation. In fact, it's the worst asset to hold against inflation because airline will increase the price of the flights and also in the miles. And most recently, KrisFlyer has also devalued their miles by increasing the number of miles needed for redemption. Okay, so use them strategically before any devaluation, expiry, or changes. So this is the main idea that I want you all to take away lah, if you all are coming for this miles webinar. All right. So in the next slide, we will take a look at the top few miles credit card. And I'm sure some of you already know them, especially in 2025, we have undergone so many changes, right? So I also want to take a look, give an updated list of all these miles credit card that we can look at lah. Okay, the number one, sorry. All right, so the top credit cards for miles, right, actually differ from people to people, all right? Everyone has their own favorite depending on the banks, depending on their usage and the merchants that they want to spend for. And each of them has their unique case of use. I think we go through some of these newer options first. Number one is the Maybank XL Rewards, which was just released this year. So this is actually a very new card. It exists in both cashback and miles, right? If you need to hit a minimum spend of $500, you can either earn 4 miles per dollar or 5% cashback. And the good thing about Maybank XL is that one of the category is travel, all right? So not many miles card, they can give like general spend, including travel. Like your popular City Rewards, it does not include travel. And also, it also 4 miles per dollar on shopping, dining, foreign currency. So it is also MasterCard, you can pair it with Amaze. All right, so this is one of the more popular travel spend credit cards that I would recommend, but it has a very important requirement, which is you have to be between 21 and 39. That's the age limit. So for those of us who are above 39, sad to say you are not even eligible to apply for this card, which is, I mean, you could apply it under another person, family member, but the miles will still go to that family member, which is something you need to manage. Okay, so that is the newest 4 miles per dollar card that I would recommend, Maybank XL card. All right, the second card that I will talk about is the DBS Women's Card. Okay, this one has been a very popular card, I think, all this while, right? So we talk about DBS Women's Card being like online 4 miles per dollar, but the caps has also been reduced to 1K starting from August 2025. Yeah, so that's the very recent change this year. Last time it used to give like $2,000, right? The cap. Then UOB Ladies Solitaire, if you qualify for it, the 120K annual card. But for the rest of us who cannot qualify, it's only a UOB Ladies card. Okay, so the difference between the ladies versus Ladies Solitaire is that Ladies Solitaire you can get 2 bonus categories. Ladies card is only 1 category. But don't get me wrong, I realize there are women's card and Ladies Solitaire card. So don't think that they are all for women only. All right, men can also apply. This is a general misconception to some of us. Okay, so don't be too afraid. Ladies Solitaire $750 per category. Okay, but limited to 2 categories, so $750 each. So total 1,500. This is the latest one. Okay, UOB Preferred Platinum, something new changed. Actually, it was a buff. There was a buff in the initial phase where they included Simply Gold and they because City Rewards nerfed Amaze already. No, sorry, Amaze nerfed themselves with 1% fee. So City Rewards plus Amaze wasn't a very good option. So UOB PPB came up second on top, right, for general spend. So you can spend $600 on both the mobile contactless and also the selected online categories. Lastly, we talk about City Rewards. This is one of the most long-standing miles credit card that is still surviving. 4 miles per dollar on online categories, but you use Amaze, you can convert it to online. So that's the relationship between City Rewards and Amaze, and it's still standing right now, even though Amaze has removed BBS, Amaze has removed, sorry, BBS has removed Amaze, UOB has removed Amaze, but City is still including Amaze for now, okay, because it's a MasterCard. But take note that it does not work for mobile wallets and travel category. All right, so that's the general idea behind it. Lastly, HSBC Revolution is a very good card, 4 miles per dollar on dining, shopping, travel, transport, but for a limited time only. Next year, 28 February, subjected to any extension, that will be the last day that it will come. But the cap is at $1,500 per month until 28th of Feb. Okay, so these are the few credit cards. There are also other credit cards that are also mouse focused, but fret not, I think there's a very huge list of this. These are the more higher earned ones, and all these credit cards are not like really income specific other than Lady Solitaire. So entry level 30K annual income you can apply already. The most important question is which card fits your monthly spending. All right. So some of you is UOB PPD, you all may add a UOB Visa Signature, you all may add a UOB Lady Solitaire, then you all may add a UOB Privy Mouse card. So that's like a UOB family of cards. Okay, so that's the way people try to combine all these card strategies together, right? So instead of managing multiple banks, then they look at, maybe I just want to manage one bank. Okay, so that's where they do multiple cards within one bank. Right. So what is your favorite card? Maybe if you want to comment on the chat itself, like what is your favorite mouse credit card? Yeah, I think that will be interesting. I also want to see what are people mouse credit card. For myself, it's probably the Maybank XL for now, and also I'm still using City Rewards, sometimes with Amaze if I'm overseas, but most of the time it's just for online subscriptions. Even like ChatGPT premium subscriptions, you can use the City Rewards plus the Amaze. Yeah, so to reduce the foreign currency fee, plus the fact that it earns 4 miles per dollar. Okay, so this is my list of some of these 4 mile credit cards that I use, but it's not specific to any, like, I change all the time, right? Because I feel that sometimes the bank nerve may not be very good in your favor. And this year we've seen so many changes really. Next year, I'm pretty sure there will be even more changes. All right, let's move on to one of these stack combos and cap hacks, because this is one of the most important strategy you need for mouse accumulation. You cannot just rely on one card. You cannot just rely on one app. All right. So the thing is to have a rotation strategy. What if you cap it out on one mouse credit card? Then the other credit cards you need to come to consideration also, the strategy behind it. All right. So remember I said that BBS Women's card has only 1,000 cap, right? So if you burst the 1,000 cap, where are you going to spend the next few thousands if you have some big ticket spend, right? So it's very important. So you may want to move it to City Rewards, Maybank XL to really maximize the 4 miles per dollar. But that also runs another risk. You are now managing multiple bank points. Okay, we are not even talking about miles yet. We're talking about bank points. Okay. Of course, there are ways to combat that. Like I mentioned, it's a UOB family where you just manage the whole UOB card family, so you don't need to manage too many banks. The second strategy is to really talk about double dipping overseas. Okay. I talk about this Amaze plus City Rewards. For those of you who are not familiar, right? So Amaze is another product where it's another card product from another financial institution. So you apply for the Amaze card, you apply for the City Rewards card, you link the City Rewards card to Amaze, and then now you use the Amaze card, whether for your local or overseas spend. Local has really, kind of nerve because they add a 1% minimum 50 cents fee. But overseas is still, the game is still ongoing. All right. So how it does is that, your banks normally charge 3.5 foreign currency fee, but Amaze will reduce it to kind of 2 to 2.5% of the spot rate, depending on how much is the currency favored. So at the same time, because Amaze also convert it to online transactions, then you can make it become eligible for 4 miles per dollar. So that's quite a good one. Yeah. Also, hybrid approach, because if you want to go in the real deep miles accumulation phase, you need to not only look at credit cards, you also need to look at apps like Shopback, like Chris Plus. Sorry, not Shopback. Shopback is more for cashback. You need to look at Haymax or Chris Plus, right? All these are like miles enhancing apps. So on top of your regular card earning apps, on top of your regular card earning the miles, right? All these apps can also help you earn additional miles. For example, like Paymax, if you click through their affiliate links, you not only will earn some max miles, but it's also earn some miles on your credit card. So it's like double dipping. Of course, max miles is a whole different game on its own. I already have a video on that. Likewise for Chris Plus. So all these things need some time to learn. Okay. So very importantly, the pro tip is that you need to set calendar alerts for any kind of cap reset, because not all cards they reset the same cap. Some of them is by calendar statement. Sorry, some of them is from calendar month. Some of them is statement month. So it is very different for different cards. Like even for the same bank, I think UOB TPV is within the this statement month or calendar month. Statement month, yeah, statement month. Then I think got another card is follow calendar month with UOB. Or PPV is calendar. Yeah, VS is statement. Yeah, I also get confused with all these. That's why there's a hack, right? Is that you align all the statement dates to the calendar date. So you can request this from the customer service officer. Yeah, even I also get confused. That's why sometimes you all really need to reset the statement date. Try to match it as close to the calendar month date as possible. All right. So you realize that Miles has a lot of loopholes. You cannot just think that you use this card, you spend on anything, then you get all your 4 miles per dollar, because all these subcaps and all this MCC stuff are gonna hit you very hard. And if you don't know what you're doing, right, you'll lose potential miles along the way, which is what I don't want any one of you to have lah. So yeah lah, miles game is very complicated, very tough, but it's rewarding in the end once you have taken your first business class flight or first class flight for that matter. All right, so far, I think miles, if you ask me, has been quite rewarding. But I think we need to go down to the calculation of how do you value amount, because that's the fundamental question that many people have. Like, how I know how to value cashback cards, right? Like I know the value of cashback cards, like 5% on $100 spent, I get $5 back. But how about miles? How do I value 4 miles per dollar? Because there's no numerical value behind it, correct? No one teaches or no one really shares the idea behind it. It's all very arbitrary kind of value that you just attach like to a business value, right? No one really sets it. So, but there's a fundamental math calculation behind this, and we call that the miles valuation, where you take cash fare minus away the taxes, divide by the miles, and you get the cents per mile or value per mile. How do we get this kind of calculation, right? You need to first understand what is your cash fare, right? So if you go to your Singapore Airlines website, you go and search for business class flight, you go and see what is the one-way flight route. How much does it cost? For example, Singapore to Hong Kong. How much does it cost for one-way business class flight? Probably like around $1,000. I don't know, but there's also a tax component, right? Changi Airport taxes around $65. I think next year they are increasing it again. So you take the $1,000 minus $65, and then you go and see the KrisFlyer award chart. How many miles it takes to fly from Singapore to Hong Kong? Okay, divide by the number of miles, and then you'll get the value per mile or cents per mile. So there's a general guideline here. I group it into 3 categories: skip zone, route territory versus accident range. Right. So if it's less than 1.8 cents per mile, I don't think it is a very good redemption, because I felt that there's opportunity cost, especially when you are earning miles. So you probably want a higher value, correct? So you could pay cash for any value below 1.8 cents per mile. Of course, this is just my subjective calculations. Everyone has different calculations. Some people value miles like 1 cent per mile, right? So different strokes for different folks. Yeah, but I think it's just a general guideline that I use. And then we move on to the good territory. This is where I will start to redeem flights. Like if my cents per mile value is at least 1.8 to 3 cents per mile. Okay, generally we are looking at destinations across Asia Pacific, outside of Southeast Asia already. So at least Hong Kong 4 hours, or Taipei or Seoul, Tokyo, all these destinations, right? Then we start looking at business class. Otherwise, if you look at Southeast Asia business class, generally, I don't think you have spent enough time to enjoy the full business class experience lah. So they will range around 1.8 to 3 cents per mile. Okay, to me, even if they are economy economy flights around this range, right, I may also choose to redeem. Yeah, especially if you fly Singapore to SFO, and then you can enjoy the economy. If you don't mind economy flights, right, I think Singapore to SFO one way on Singapore Airlines economy will be around this value as well. Okay. Now the excellent range is somewhere above 3 cents per mile. Also, that's arbitrary. So definitely the further you fly away from Singapore, for example, like US, Europe, or Africa. Most recently was the Johannesburg, right? The most popular business class route that is very far but still very popular before the devaluation. So those are excellent ranges. It's a sweet spot, but it's also maybe also more competitive. Okay, because everybody wants to redeem to Europe, to US, all these far away places in business class. So how are you going to fight with them, right? So in miles, you really need to be fast and fasted. Like you need to have a plan, and you also need to be very flexible on how you want to strategize your flight strategy. Later we talk about the timeline now. So actionable insights, I think I want to focus that don't chase 4 mile per dollar earning blindly. Okay, always choose redemption value, chase the redemption value instead, right? So if you think that you earn all these miles and then use it to redeem economy class, nothing wrong, but you are kind of wasting time, right? Because you could have spent the time to earn more money cash, and then you just buy an economy class ticket straight. I think you save more time and all the headache from all the miles calculation and stuff. So honestly, if you ask me, I think that if you want to go for miles, it's because you really want to fly business class, not because you want to redeem multiple economy class flights, because it doesn't make sense for all the effort, additional time spent and calculations to do all this stuff, right? So there are also other kind of mouse enhancer apps, what do you call it? Those that can assist you to make better decisions on what flights to go for. So you can look at seats.arrow. That's where you find like miles availabilities, redemption flights. Of course, there's a paid section and a free section. I think the free one can only allow you to search up to 7 days, weeks, 7 days only. Yeah. 7 days only. Yeah, I don't pay for it, so I'm not really familiar with it. And then the other one is Award Hacker. I'm pretty sure there's a free and paid version for that. You all can own self go and take a look if you want. The truth is that if you want to really talk about miles redemption, there are ways behind it. Okay. Is that okay? So we always talk about KrisFlyer. KrisFlyer is what is familiar to us. Like myself, I also started from KrisFlyer because it's familiar to me and it's easier to learn, correct? But are there any other frequent flyer programs that we can also look at? Because everyone is squeezing out in KrisFlyer, Singapore Airlines, and then you look at the wait list, forever never clear one. You can never find award space in business class. So are there any alternatives outside KrisFlyer or not? We'll look at that in the next slide. But first, I want you all to know where you want to redeem the flights to. Okay, is Singapore Airlines actually flying that route? And if it's not, you will require a transit flight. So if it requires a transit flight, is it then time to look at alternative frequent flyer programs? Okay, this is where we look at alternative ready. But I think I want to make a point that when you transfer points from banks to frequent flyer programs, you need to be very careful. Okay, you don't anyhow transfer like January you transfer, then March you transfer. Otherwise, you will incur a lot of transfer fees. When should you transfer is when your miles are expiring, or number two, you already have a redemption plan in place. Okay, so if you don't have a plan in place, you don't anyhow go and transfer because once you go into the miles account, probably it will start counting the date to expiry. And number two, the other good time to transfer is when there are transfer bonuses. So recently they have transfer bonuses for Qatar Avios and also Cathay Pacific Asia Miles, 10%. These are when you need to limited time promotions where they upsize them. They give an upsized miles transfer value. Yeah, so these are times where it's very good to transfer. But the thing is that all these promotions, they don't run regularly, although they usually come about. KrisFlyer, the only time where there was an upsized promotion was during COVID 2020 or 2020 and 2021. That was when I transferred a huge amount back then because I was also quite new to it. But if you ask me, KrisFlyer is still quite a good program for spontaneous escapes, which is just released today. Just that Spontaneous escapes, for those who don't know, right? That is when there is a discounted award points that you need to redeem to a specific destination, but it's only like last minute. Like next month you need to fly this kind of thing. That's why it's called spontaneous escapes. Okay, and to book A380 suites on the first class, okay, there's a difference between first class and suites for Singapore Airlines. You can only book it through the KrisFlyer miles. The other, of course, there are other frequent flyer programs like EVA Air and also Air Canada, where you can book Singapore Airlines flights as well. But I don't think you can book first class or suites through them. Okay, this is all reserved through the KrisFlyer program only. So KrisFlyer, even though we say that it's very expensive, but it's very hard to get, but if you really want all these spontaneous escapes at A380, you really have to look at KrisFlyer. Okay, so if you want to support local, KrisFlyer is the way. But are there alternatives? Yes, definitely. The first one is Avios. Avios is from Qatar, and also British Airways is also called Avios. So they are like one-to-one transferable. Okay, it's quite ideal for if you want to fly to fly through Cathay. Cathay actually is cheaper with Qatar Avios than Asia Miles itself in terms of the number of miles. Okay, so to give an example, if you want to fly Singapore to Hong Kong business class, if you book it through Qatar Avios, it's actually less miles than booking through Asia Miles. I think it's 24K versus 28K, if my math is correct. Yeah, but the number kind of changed. It's quite dynamic pricing lah. So, and the reason why you want to fly through Hong Kong is if you are flying to a further destination like Europe, US, and then like Hong Kong is a transit hub. There are a lot of flights. Then you don't want to take like one-way flight, right? Like Singapore to SFO or something, or Singapore to Milan. I think it's a good idea to transit at Hong Kong as well. Hong Kong, you can then enjoy the Hong Kong business class Cathay Lounge. Okay, and yeah, I mean now you're taking two business class flights at a lower number of miles, and at the same time, there's more availability compared to Singapore Airlines. So this is where you need to look at alternative frequent flyers. And Qatar Airways, I think today just announced that they are going to run the A380, more flights of A380. So Q suites is only on A350, so that is not good because a lot of people, they book Qatar for the Q suites on A350, yeah, which is a very nice, kind of private suite like the Singapore Airlines suites class. But yeah, if they change to A380, then that means more availability, but at the same time, you don't get a Q suites product. Yeah, so a lot of things to learn along the way lah. You only discover this until you go deeper in the miles rabbit hole. Okay, Asia Miles is something that I'm also looking more towards too, because remember we talked about KrisFlyer. A lot of banks in Singapore, they can transfer to KrisFlyer and Asia Miles. So it's either KrisFlyer or Asia Miles, correct? So if KrisFlyer is not you cannot find any award availability, and the miles is so expensive to redeem, then the alternative is to look at Asia Miles. So like I said, you fly through Cathay Pacific, which is also a fantastic airline, and also you can use less miles to redeem the flight, and you can go through Hong Kong business class lounge on Cathay. And if you want to fly to China, actually it has very good connectivity, right? Because Singapore Airlines only fly like very limited routes to China, those few routes only, those larger cities. But if you go through Cathay and you transit through Hong Kong, I think they have much more availability and much less miles required. So I would strongly recommend you to look at Asia Miles after KrisFlyer devaluation. Okay, this is also something that I'm focusing on. So the general rule of miles is that you don't want to hoard them. Okay, don't be a miles millionaire for nothing, thinking that you are like a cash millionaire, because it doesn't make sense. Miles will devalue over time and they will depreciate quickly. And really, every year now also, more and more people are going to this miles game. It's getting more and more competitive already. So the more we talk about it, the more people learn about it, the less you are able to get your redemptions right. So don't hoard miles once you have a plan, especially if you want to book like a family of 4, it's even harder. If you want to book 2 persons is already considered harder than 1 person, right? So if you want to book for a family of 4, even more difficult. So don't hoard the miles. Once you have sufficient miles and you have a specified destination, please just go for it if there's availability. Okay, and if you're not sure how fast miles depreciate, I think the last devaluation was in, I forgot, during COVID period or even more recent. But yeah, November is when KrisFlyer miles devalued. So probably in the next 2-3 years we'll see devalue again. Okay, so don't hoard too much miles lah. Okay, some of these timeline hacks, right? When does the award space open? So T minus 355 days. This is the standard for Singapore Airlines. That's when your new award seats release. So for example, today's date is 17th November. Okay, so if you want to book a flight for next year, you could book it like 7 November 2026. That's 355 days later. And usually the time is around 8 a.m. Singapore time. They follow like the Greenwich Meridian time or something. But if you want to book for more popular routes, right, you look at 1 year ahead. And I know that 1 year ahead is not realistic for most working class people because we need to apply leave, right? But you just book first lah. You book first, then next year you go and ask for leave. Okay. The thing is, if you're able to book early and you want to change the date, it is also possible by a small fee lah, depending on your fare class. But I think it's more important to have a plan of where you want to fly first, especially for popular routes like Japan. We're looking at Tokyo and Osaka. These two are very popular cities. But if you look at the less popular cities like Fukuoka or Nagoya, maybe there's much more availability if Japan is your thing. Okay, but if you cannot find on Singapore Airlines, maybe you can find on partner airlines. Okay, like I mentioned, Bangkok hub, Taipei hub, Hong Kong hub. Are there any other frequent flyer programs that also offer this kind of transit in business class to your specified destination? I mentioned, right? Hong Kong is a great transit hub, so you can go through Cathay Pacific, right, on business class. Taipei is also a transit hub, so you can go through EVA Airways, okay? And EVA Airways, if I'm not wrong, right, you only need 25,000 miles to fly business class from Singapore to Japan, okay? That's a very big difference, but there's a caveat behind it. Okay, for comparison, Singapore Airlines from Singapore to Japan is 52,000 miles, but EVA Airways is 25,000. Okay, why the distinction is because EVA, you need to transit at Taipei. Okay, and you transit, not only that, you need to transit overnight, which means that your flight arrive at maybe 3 p.m. at Taipei, and then the next morning flight 8 a.m. then you can take off from Taipei to Tokyo. Yeah, so that's the thing. You also have to incur hotel costs. All right, so that's a lot of stuff you only learn when you go into the mouse game. Okay. Lastly, T minus 90 days. Sometimes you may find seats, but don't get caught because they may mix business cabin classes with economy classes. Like Air Canada, they do this very often. Like you see it's available, right? But only one part of the route is business class, then the other part of the route is economy. Then you don't know, right? You just book, and the end is one in economy, one in business. Then you newbie lah. Okay. But sometimes you don't need to book two-way business class one, you can book one-way business and then you come back in economy. Of course, if that makes sense for you, because sometimes the business class is only available one way. Okay, but the other way, maybe it's not available. Then you can use cash or use your mouse to redeem it if it's good value for you lah. Okay, there are some other essential tools that you can use to find mouse availability flights like seats.aero, like I said, expert flyer, transfer bonuses. Usually they give around 10 to 25% more value. Okay, so most recent one is Qatar. I think I informed my group as well. How much do you give? 40%, is it? 40%. 20 only. Okay, yeah, I'm mistaken. 20. Yeah, 20 is already very good, if you ask me. Okay, so I recently transferred the Qatar Avios miles and then I booked a flight from Singapore to Hong Kong. That is in business class because I learned that actually if I want to fly to Hong Kong, I book through Qatar, it's much cheaper than flying through Asia Miles. So that's also something new you learn. You thought Asia Miles, the flagship program of Cathay Pacific, it should be the cheapest, right? But it's not. Okay, Qatar is cheaper. But you're still flying through Cathay Pacific, to be clear. Okay, in the next slide, we talk about when miles don't make sense for people, because we talk about how much it makes sense for people. Like you have a certain spending level, and you are very good in calculations, and you are good in planning, and you want everything in plan. So miles is not really good for a certain group of people lah. I have to be very honest. Not everyone will enjoy miles collection and miles redemption. Okay, and who are this group of people? Number one, low monthly spending. So what that means is that if you are below a certain monthly spending level, like $1,000 per month, I think it don't make sense. Not because what, but because the journey is going to be much harder. Okay, compared to someone who is spending like 3 to 4K a month and then can use multiple credit cards, right? If you are spending less than 1K a month, it's going to be an uphill battle for you. All right. So if you spend all the time chasing miles and then at the end you realize not enough because your miles already devalued and then you don't have enough, then you keep chasing. You just keep chasing the hamster wheel and you keep running around behind it. You'll never get it. So if you're spending less than 1,000 a month, even in your 30s, I think you're in a different league. First, you are very frugal, which means you're on your way to financial independence. Second, I don't think you need to chase the mouse game. Okay, you have other better things to chase for. Number two, let's talk about cashback cards. Yeah. Okay, so we're still at the first point, right? So cashback cards will bring more value for those people who are below 1K spending. This is a honest, brutal fact. So if you're above 1K, then you can start to consider about miles. And even 1K is a very low tier already. And miles card itself requires high volume. So if your personal spending is low, doesn't mean you cannot chase the miles game. But if you think for it, right, if you can spend company money on your personal credit card, that's when you can earn a lot of miles. Because a lot of you are in sales position, then you'll buy customer dinner, right, client dinner, or customer gift, or use your own credit card, then you claim through a company. Okay, maybe you spend like additional 1-2K per month on company credit. Yeah, so that's when you can earn a lot of miles lah, or some hack for you. So low spender, don't fret. Okay, as long as you don't use your own money, everything is good. Okay, number two, let's talk about short haul flights. If you're someone who don't enjoy long haul flights, okay, some people they really don't like to fly beyond Asia Pacific one, okay, or even some of you don't fly beyond Southeast Asia. You just don't like the whole travel very long, sit in the airplane kind of stuff. Then I think no point lah. So if you're flying regional flights less than 3 hours, I think it doesn't make sense to redeem business class. But that's just me. I felt that it's better that you just keep the cost low and then you go to your destination and you go and enjoy. So you can also fly economy if you want, but business class beyond like 4 to 5 hours, I think don't make sense for me. But it may make sense for you. So depending on you. Okay, always compare the cash versus miles value. If it's less than 1.8 cents, I'll feel that it's easier for you to just buy the cash fare outright. Don't waste time. Okay. Number three, tracking overhead. This one is the most overlooked factor. Okay, why I say that is because we all are fascinated with 4 mile per dollar cuts and all that stuff. But then you think about it, you need to have so much head space to calculate the MCC and the caps. And then you need multiple cuts. And then not just that, you need to face with the challenge with other people for award space competition. Yeah. So it's very complex. Without good execution, right, your mouse will lose value over time. So that's very important now. If you think that you can pass these 3 cases, then I think you can step into the mouse game. A lot of people, they failed at the first part already, which is the spending part, right? Because they cannot have the consistent spending, then it doesn't make sense. Okay. So mouse is not like you want to go, then you do one. Okay? It needs commitment. Okay. And the very truth is this commitment is very challenging. Of course, it's easy if you have a high spend and consistent spend, but for people who are, more tight on their finances, their money, it may be a challenge. Yeah. So it's ultimately a form of inflation on your lifestyle because you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of money to enjoy a greater value of flight, which is business class. And I'm very sure people outside the mouse camp will not understand this. We'll see like, I can take economy flight and I'll reach the same destination as you in the same amount of time. So what's the value of business class flight anyway, right? So unless you've taken one before, then you'll realize that, your journey doesn't start from the destination after the airport. Your journey starts from the day when you check in, right? Because you can enjoy the lounge, enjoy the priority boarding, and then you have more leg space, you can rest better, okay? And then you get refreshed on your way there. Okay, some of you take red eye flights in economy, you know what I'm talking about, because you sleep in the plane and then you realize you don't have enough sleep, you don't get enough rest, and then you arrive at your destination at 6, 7 a.m. you cannot even walk already. You just want to go to a hotel and check in, and then you need to spend additional money on that. So that's different type of demand and supply for other people. Okay. So key takeaway I want you all to take back is that you all really need to master the loop. Okay. Master the earn, hold, and redeem framework. Okay. Don't just look at the earn part. There's a holding part, there's a redeem part. All these three steps are very important in miles accumulation. You cannot just rely on the earning part. The earning part will only get you this far, right? You need to learn the redemption part, the rules and all, to really excel in the miles game. And why I say it's the miles game is because it is really a game. You are not just comparing yourself, you're also comparing to other people who also learn of this, and more people will learn of this with more knowledge. So there's a lot of discipline involved. Don't just rely on thinking what card to use and you think you're in the mouse game. I think you're just at the beginning only. Okay. Number two, diversify ecosystems. If KrisFlyer don't work for you, look at other frequent flyer programs. If DBS don't work for you, you can maybe look at UOB. All right. So don't just be fixated on one credit card product or one frequent flyer program. Look at alternatives. Are there ways to fly cheaper and also accumulate easier? Number three, calculate always. Like I said, if it's less than 1.8 cents, it's probably better for you to just buy the ticket outright, save your time and all that. Okay. Avoid redemptions that don't have any real value to it. Like, okay, but recently I have a changed perception on this. Scoot just released their redemption chart this year, which meant that you could redeem like near destination Southeast Asia. And you have thought it's not good value, right? Actually, it is pretty good value. So maybe like in the near future, I'll talk about this Scoot redemption chart. But some of you don't want to redeem for business class, but then you realize, hey, if I can redeem for Scoot flights, then it's also very good, right? Because I don't value business class flight, but I definitely value budget flights if I want to fly into near destinations. So next time I'll talk about the Scoot redemption chart, like what are the best places. Okay. And also stay updated. That's the most important. Either you follow me on Telegram, okay, or you follow other mouse blogs. That most important, you need to know of the nerves, the changes to credit cards and frequent flyer programs. All these will change every time. Okay. Maybe in the future, if there's demand, I'll talk about advanced redemption strategies, sweet spot routing, and so maximizing premium cabin availability. All these are quite advanced because my target audience today is really mouse beginner, and if you're just stepping into it, you don't even understand. And I myself, I think I'm not so advanced now, so I'm still learning all this stuff together with you, right? Like only this year then I start to venture into alternative frequent flyer programs because I really realized KrisFlyer cannot find seat, cannot find availability. So I also look at alternative law. So I also learn from my viewers as well. Some of them like advise me through the comments, which I appreciate lah. So I'm by no means I'm a mouse expert. I'm also learning just like you. Yeah, my channel is also not like really mouse focused. I also learn from other experts as well. So I'm very happy to also learn from other people so that I can apply to my own life. Okay. Okay. With that, I think we come to the main seminar. End of the main seminar. I just want to highlight an announcement because next month I'm going to have, sorry, not next month, next week, my next live event is going to be on SRS investment. Okay, so something very different. Like this is, I'm in collaboration with Poem, so that will be on a Wednesday 9 p.m. my usual live stream date. Should you contribute to SRS, especially during the year end? Yeah, we'll discuss that in the next live stream. Meanwhile, if you have any questions on our webinar today or live seminar today, please go and ask in the comment section right away, right? So we try to answer some of these questions with regards to mouse and credit cards. And also, live audience, if you have any question, can ask me. So I try my best, even though I know I may not be the best person to answer. But most importantly, if I've answered your question, please help me scan the QR code. Mobile phone, just tap in and scan can already, okay? Yeah, then my social media handles is honeymoneysg. I'm available on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, I have my first question on the live stream. Let me show it. Can we book for teens or not? Okay, so I want to answer this from a KrisFlyer perspective. You can add nominees, okay? So your nominees need not be your family members. It can be anyone you know, as long as you have their passport name and date of birth. Okay, so it's not showing yet. This price on my live stream. Okay, so you can also book for other people for KrisFlyer Awards once you add nominees to them, right? So you add nominee, you add their passport name and also their date of birth. You can then redeem your own miles for these people. Okay, they need not be, they can be your friends, your family, or people you know. So the only other thing is that if you want to book for below 2-year-old people, like your kid is below 2 year old, you will need to call up the call center, right? The Singapore Airlines contact. Then yeah, you pay around 10% of the original business class fare. Yeah. Actually, I'm interested to know it. Any one of you like already regularly flying business class? Okay, don't say regularly. I have flown business class before. Anyone here? Okay, not bad. To what destination? Cairns. Okay, nice. SIA. Okay. So yeah, and how was it? Which
I think the benefit is you get to disembark first,
uh
which is nice.
yeah.
But then with a luggage, it's the same.
Oh yeah. All right. So one of my live viewer, he mentioned that he took SIA business class to Cairns, and yeah, he really enjoyed the priority boarding and priority disembarking. But the thing is that you will also need to wait for your luggage, okay, at the airport. So I think this is the same for, even though it's priority bag, but someone still have to bring the bag from the airplane to the airport. So you still have to wait. So it's not like uh, by the time you clear customs and you think your bag is there already, maybe you have to wait an additional 15 minutes for all the bags to come together because they all go in one truck. Yeah, so that's one thing about business class now. Where to? Where do you fly, sir? Hong Kong. Singapore to Hong Kong on Singapore? SIA. Nice. Okay. How was your experience?
So from that, I was able to enjoy both different seats. Maybe 13, maybe 18
Okay. Nice. So this gentleman here, he enjoyed both 2013J and 2018J. Which one do you like better? The old one, 20. It's wider, right? Yeah, I did a recent video on this, like which is the best business class seat to choose on Singapore Airlines. Yes. Yeah. So there's a slight difference lah. Different planes they will have different seats, right? So 2013 is wider, but if you want to sleep and all that, you need to flip. Whereas 2018J, you just press the button, you will lie down flat. And then I heard from my comments is that 2013J, if you want to sleep, you need to sleep slanted. Yeah, so your legs will be like angled. It's not like fully straight. Yeah, that is a slight difference lah. So air miles, this kind of thing, you think you learn the earning part, the redemption part, and yeah, then you go to the airplane, then still got different business class seat. I didn't realize it. Yeah, until you really step on it. Okay. Uh, so for those of you who still aspiring on your first business class seat, where's your preferred destination? I'm also curious to know. Any preferred destination that you want to take? France, Paris. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So Paris, you can fly on Singapore Airlines or you can fly on Hong Kong and then you transfer. Yeah. So depending on what you want. So definitely the Hong Kong one will be cheaper on Asia miles. Qatar. Qatar. So, yeah. Air France. You do Air France.
different.
It's
open bar.
Open bar. Open bar on economy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you just
Yeah.
you just everything.
Oh.
Then you sell like so like how much I was like drinking.
Yeah. So
Business is different economy, so you just like all the things. You just think like what you want, why
nice. Yeah, so one gentleman also mentioned that Air France has this open bar concept whereby even in economy you can go there and drink. I think Qatar had a similar concept, but it's for business class passengers only. So it's like you go to a bar counter and then you can go and like network with other people. If you're extrovert, if you're introvert, you probably don't want people to talk to you, and then you just want to drink whatever you want. Yes, 380. Yeah. Actually, if you ask me, I'm also not very familiar. Just based on what I read and heard. Yeah. Don't you any place you want to travel? Okay.
But it's not a mouse. It's a keyboard for they send you a email saying you want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a mouse upgrade from economy or
This one is a it's not very
yeah.
it's
But is it a free upgrade or
no
yeah.
I think it's about 1,000.
Okay.
You add on 1,000 plus.
Which airline was it? Oh, nice.
And it was to Canada.
Canada. Okay. Yeah.
And, it was my first time.